Good afternoon, everyone. It really is a pleasure to be here today. My name's Donna-Marie Patten, and yes, it's an honor to talk to such a forward-thinking audience like yourselves today. And really what I share today is from my own personal insights and experience. So a little bit about myself. I have 22 years plus in operational and leadership experience within the financial services section. My first 10 years was actually within application management, so supporting front office, middle office, trading platforms. And, when I think about back then, 2002, it's like it was scripting, heavy manual processes, monitoring tools. AI really wasn't that prevalent. And I wish it had been, because it would have made my support role a lot more easier than it would be today. But what I would say is, years on from now, as a technical program manager, I am fortunate to run cross-wide impact initiatives across organizations. And that does include AI and how to transform enterprise technology operations. More specifically, use cases to enhance infrastructure stability, resiliency. That might be reducing number of tickets. It may be to do with optimizing resource utilization, reducing recovery time as key examples. So, real pleasure to be here and share some of my insights. So let's just set the scene then. We're clearly living in a world where software is rapidly growing. It's evolving, and the pace in which technology is moving is mind-blowing. I think we can all agree. And as technology professionals, we are faced with increasing complex, challenging scenarios, multi-cloud environments that we have to essentially cater for. And so within large-scale environments, supporting global operations, right? So AI really it's no longer a buzzword. It's actively transforming the way in which we're doing things, whether that's from knowledge management, the way we automate things, the way we're making decisions. It is changing in what we're fundamentally doing. But in order to unlock AI's full potential, we do need to be strategic in how we go about implementing that, right? And it's about understanding what are the right use cases to introduce and when to leverage AI versus traditional methods that we've all come to know, automation. So for me, over the next 25 minutes, my aim is to take you through some of my personal insights in how to think about incorporating AI into your organization, formed by my own experiences, but the intent is really to help you think about how you identify high-value opportunities, and then think about some of those pitfalls, challenges that you may need to consider when looking to implement within your organization. So I wanted to firstly start off with, and I know Kelsey's going to kill me because I just said legacy here, so maybe I should Hall of Fame, automation versus AI. I think we are familiar and we've come to rely on tools like Ansible, Puppet, different scripting languages. They have really been fundamental to our technology operations. They've helped us to automate many manual processes, repetitive, improving efficiency, and ultimately reducing the chance of human error. For years, I would say that these tools have been the backbone of infrastructure management. They've allowed IT teams to streamline operations. That might be configuring servers, deploying software, monitoring systems without much oversight from humans or intervention. So the goal has been simple, right? Is to reduce manual work, standardize processes, and make things more predictable. And I can completely relate to that when I think back to my former support days. However, we must be aware of the limitations when it comes to our traditional way that we have been working on, particularly within large distributed organizations, environments that span multiple cloud types, whether that's internal, external cloud, etc. And then legacy tool, or should I say automation tools, then can only get you so far to try and navigate across those multiple types of environments. So, for example, there may be thousands of systems whereby you've got different environments, and then you may have multiple incoming tickets going to IT teams. And that can quickly become overwhelming, not for systems, but for the teams themselves. And then taking resources away, having to navigate those particular those tickets rather than focusing on how to improve the environment itself. If we take incident management as an example, right? Ultimately, tickets will get raised and teams will need to so we'll need to pick that up, may need to manually route those tickets, investigate those tickets, maybe some form of remediation. So, ultimately, we need to do better in improving our operations landscape. So then we need to think about AI. AI is starting to change the game. What I would say is that when we think of things like large language models, we can automate decision-making, making real-time decisions, enabling intelligent and context-aware responses. Instead of just using static scripts or automation tools, we can analyze user queries, understand intent, and offer personalized responses, right? Now, if we think about virtual AI assistants or agents, however you want to refer to them, they don't only just resolve IT tickets, but they could potentially predict potential system failures before they occur and maybe help with more preventative or proactive predictive measures. So the shift is not just now, we're not just talking about automating tasks, we're improving decision-making, we're enhancing the overall experience, not only for IT teams, but also our end users. And then rather than simply addressing issues reactively, AI can help us to respond to things more proactively. Now, you're probably going to wonder why I've decided to call this out and in terms of defining the terms. I've done this because in my experience, I've seen a lot of confusion around the varying terms and how people understand the varying terms. So we've just talked about Hall of Fame automation, legacy automation, but I wanted to call out the difference, particularly around the AI terms. So when we think about AI, right, that term, that broad idea of creating machines or software that can do tasks that would normally require human intelligence, like problem solving, decision making, or understanding language. If we take a simple example like Siri or Alexa, I'm creating my own thing now. Yeah, Siri or Alexa, they can recognize voice commands and they'll respond to that, okay? Then you have machine learning, okay? Machine learning is a type of AI where machines learn from data and will get better over time without being programmed from exact instructions. We could take our spam filter on emails as an example. As time goes on, it gets better at filtering out the crap, right? Then we have generative AI, right? Generative AI is the type of AI that creates new things, whether that's text, whether that's images, whether that's music, based on patterns that it's learned from data. So we know ChatGPT, that's my best friend, or DALL-E creates pictures from text descriptions. So I just wanted to call out and say up front what these different terms are, because I've seen it in my experience. They're used sometimes incorrectly, or people don't have a base level of understanding. So how I describe, as you've said, in short, AI, machines doing smart things, ML, machines learning from data, and generative AI, machines creating new content. So the thing that I then wanted to move on to is, how do we identify value opportunities to leverage AI? AI does present endless opportunities. It really, really does. But it also presents a lot of challenges. How do you sift through all the potential use cases that you go and deliver against? And it is very easy, and I see it, you get swept up in this hype. AI, okay, I must implement the next cool snazzy thing within the organization, but not necessarily thinking about the value that it will bring back to your business. So, something else that I've seen in my experiences, how many chatbots is too many chatbots within an organization? I'm forever hearing myself asking folks, what is the problem that you are trying to solve for? And then how does AI/ML solve for that thing? So I think depending on the size of an organization, you can experience a lot of duplication. I've seen it. I live it. I breathe it. But it's important to have a mechanism to filter through ideas and your options and then carefully evaluate which ones are worth pursuing. So before you dive into AI, it really is essential to establish governance frameworks. Without clear guidelines, AI can quickly become chaotic and produce very unintended results. So governance should define the success, what success looks like, how AI models are trained, but also how they then interact with human decision makers. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things to think about. So first consideration would be look for your pain points. Start by identifying where the most significant pain points are within your organization. What are the areas in your operations that consume the most time or resources? This could be anything from repetitive tasks to high volume support tickets to slow decision making. Okay. Consideration 2. Once you've identified the potential area where you want to focus on, will solving this pain point through AI reduce cost? Will it improve efficiency? Will it enhance the overall quality of somebody's experience? Now, if we take an example like automating network monitoring with AI, okay? This could reduce time spent on manual incident response, or it could simply improve or improve the detection of anomalies in your network, right? Consideration 3, feasibility and return of investment. So things to think about. Do you have the necessary data to train your models on? Do you have the right infrastructure in place to support what you're trying to do? Actually, one of the first questions I should say, does your organization already have that solution, a solution somewhere in the organization? Particularly when you start to get into larger organizations, there could be something that exists over there, but you're not necessarily aware of that. What is your total addressable market that you're trying to solve for here? And obviously, do not forget metrics. How are you going to measure success? How are you going to know what you've implemented is actually done the thing that you want? This is no longer about, oh yes, I'm using an LLM, something really cool and funky. What are your OKRs? What is those key results that you're actually working towards? So I guess the thing that I've learned over time is that AI isn't always the best solution. Controversial to where we are today, it may not always be the solution. And I think for certain processes, traditional automation still remains valid and the right thing to do, and maybe the more cost-effective thing to do. So if we think like the provisioning of servers or managing configuration files, maybe traditional automation is still the thing you continue to leverage. It's really about finding that balance. So the key is to ask yourself, what will AI add? Where will AI add the most value? Where could AI be the game changer? And where can we stick to traditional solutions? So the next thing that I wanted to touch on, which maybe folks don't necessarily think about, and it does touch on if you've got larger organizations, you might multiple solutions, it's all disparate, all that wonderful stuff. It's about thinking where you can leverage shared use cases versus specialize versus what's the best of both, okay? So when we're thinking about scale, right, that's when we start to think about shared use cases. A key principle of AI adoption is driving convergence for shared use cases across your organization. If you could imagine, if you had an incident management system, you've got one over there, one over there, one over there, one over there. That really is not the most effective thing to do. You would want a consistent look, feel, regardless of user type in that one incident management system. So try to think about common use cases where a single AI solution can be leveraged to then offer a similar experience. Conversely, the power of specialization. Now, where shared use cases can be effective, there will still be times where specialization is necessary, is required, makes sense. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to that network monitoring example again. We're talking about something that's highly specialized, it's very nuanced to your environment. Specialized solution is going to make a lot of sense in that regard. So then the trick again is finding the right balance. It's not dissimilar to automation versus AI, finding the balance where then you have the most impact. So shared use cases should focus on maybe tasks that are standardized across the organization, while niche use cases can be tailored to your company's unique needs. Now, I do want to just touch on agentic workflow operations. This is where AI steps in not just as a tool, but as a powerful autonomous agent, right? Capable of managing entire workflows without requiring human oversight. So instead of having people manually handle varying parts or having to step in various steps of whatever that end-to-end process might look like, we're now talking about AI systems that are autonomous, that can manage something end-to-end. They can triage, look to knowledge databases, make decisions, maybe triage and resolve those tickets, having some form of context of what it is that they are solving for without someone stepping into in every step of that. So this agentic capability does allow organizations to scale operations at speed, reduce human error, and most certainly will free up resources for them to focus on more complex strategic type tasks. So the question that myself, see a lot of is the question between, do we build our own solution or do we buy a solution? You could not imagine the number of times when folks have come up with this really wonderful idea and then I have someone go, but doesn't something like that exist in the market? Right? So I think that's definitely one of the most critical decisions that organizations do face, where they build versus buy. What I would say, again, my personal opinion is when to buy is when you have things like sort of general purpose needs. So might be coding assistance, natural language processing, chatbot automation. These are areas where leading vendors are very mature in that space. Why would you want to necessarily reinvent the wheel when you've got something very mature on the market? And also, it will come with the necessary support. So as your business scales, you've got that continuous improvement of that product that you're leveraging that grows with your business also. So then conversely, when do you build? So if we relate it back to those specialized use cases, the nuanced environmental things that may exist in your organization, that's potentially where building something is going to make more sense. I take the networking example again. That's going to make sense for you to build something. It's going to be very highly niche, nuanced to your environment. My opinion. People may counter that. So I think it would be definitely remiss of me if I didn't touch on things to consider when, in highly regulated environments. Actually, a lot of these things don't necessarily have to be solely applicable to highly regulated environments. I think these are just good things to be thinking about when you are leveraging AI within your organization. So, compliance with regulations. We've got data privacy laws. If we think like GDPR in Europe or HIPAA in the US, they play an absolute crucial role in how AI can be used. And we need to ensure that AI is compliant with these laws, especially when we're handling sensitive data. And if we're going to use that data to go on to make decisions that impact whether it's an individual, a customer, or whatever the case may be. So, data privacy. Then, of course, you have transparency and explainability. Many regulators do require AI decisions to be explainable. So, it's really important that AIs can actually provide clear reasons for how they've arrived at a particular decision. Auditability goes without saying. We need to have audit trails of, essentially complying. Having an auditability of what your AI systems are doing should just be something you do, and that shouldn't matter whether you're in a highly regulated environment or not, as the case may be. So auditability. So then here I've mentioned bias and fairness. So there's a heightened scrutiny on bias in AI models. And what we don't want to do is build models that then, should I say, how did I have it here? Discriminating. We want to avoid discriminating classes like age, race, gender. We don't want to proliferate that, right? So we need to ensure we're not perpetuating these harmful biases where you might be making decisions, I don't know, like hiring, lending, insurance decisions. It really is important to think about. So ensure that you're implementing strategies to regularly check and correct AI models for bias. Can't say that enough. And then ensuring that compliance with both ethical and legal standards. And we know that the landscape is constantly changing. So it's important to stay in touch with that and up to speed. Risk management and AI reliability. So AI systems must be thoroughly tested for reliability. Again, I don't think this is actually specific to highly regulated environment. You want to know that your system's reliable, any system for that matter. And it's important that there's thorough testing, frequent testing that is happening with your systems, and failure to meet operational or safety standards could lead to reputational or legal or reputational consequences, which you wouldn't want. So you want to continuously assess the risks associated with AI and the decisions that it's making, particularly when decisions impact our customers or folks that decisions are being made about. And let's not forget, I talked about reliability testing, but I think stress testing is also important to do. I'm sure we do that with our normal applications, depending on what industry that you are in, but stress testing is also very, very important. We have data security and protection mentioned here. So where we are dealing with sensitive data, actually where we're dealing with data, private data, sensitive data, it's crucial that you implement data security to protect data from any threats that may be cyber threats and breaches. And so I would say, consider where you can using strong encryption techniques and role-based access control. I have personally seen, I'm not at liberty to talk about what it is that my current organization do. Again, I'm just talking about personal experience, but it's something that I've seen where there has been a breach or non-compliance. So it is real. It definitely is real and must be considered. Whilst I didn't put it on here, I did just want to talk about continuous monitoring and oversight. So ensure that you are continually monitoring and providing oversight on what it is that you're leveraging AI for. You want to make sure that that's existing within an established compliance framework. This might mean frequent reviews, audits, whether that's external or internal audits, maybe involvement of legal teams to monitor changes in laws, etc. So do think about that. So time does actually run up very, very quickly. I wanted to just leave you with a few takeaways based on what I have shared with you today. We know that AI is transforming operations at scale. It has the potential to revolutionize how we operate, from knowledge management to workflow automation. It really is immense. And so incorporating things like agentic workflow operations can empower AI systems to work autonomously, handle tasks, freeing up human for those more higher value, complex type work. Yet human oversight does still remain crucial, really, really does. It's important to recognize that human expertise and decision-making will still be essential. AI can optimize at scale, but the human touch remains vital for strategic thinking, creativity, and handling, as I've said, on more than one occasion, sort of the more complex challenges that we may have that AI may or may not be able to yet handle. And I say yet, we don't know how times will change. Start with governance and measurement. So as we implement AI across your organization, it really is important to establish clear governance, and measurable outcomes is going to be really key to your success. Without these frameworks, as I said, it can quickly become very, very chaotic, disorganized, doesn't align with the organizational goals. Conversely, if you implement it right, what will happen is it helps you manage risk, it helps you create transparency, and align, therefore, with your organization's overarching strategic goals. I've said here, embrace the change, but you really do need to sort out from the hype versus reality. We know that the possibilities are immense, but you do need to figure out where traditional methods is still the right thing to do versus leveraging AI. AI isn't always the answer. Identifying value. So, as I said, you want to sift through that hype. You want to be able to pinpoint the pain points that are going to deliver the most value. You want to assess that impact. So how are you going to measure that? And then ultimately, what is the return of investment of doing that thing? Then we must remember to recognize AI and its limitations. AI can still and does still struggle with ambiguity, incomplete data, and tasks that require more emotional intelligence. So I think we need to just be realistic with ourselves in where we place emphasis in leveraging AI and where we should not, choose not to at this time. And then we've got, as I touched on, was the shared use cases versus specialization. When is it that we should use a more generic solution versus something that's more specialized, which ties into the build versus buy decision, right? So you may decide to buy something off the shelf that can help you with those more generic, converged use cases versus something that is more nuanced to your environment. And then lastly, I did go through some considerations around highly regulated environments, but actually a lot of those you should just be considering anyway. So I would say my closing thoughts would be AI has a great potential. It requires careful thought and a strategic approach. Focus on the high value opportunities, ensure good governance, understand where AI excels versus where it falls short. And when done right, AI can dramatically enhance your organization's ability to operate smarter and more efficiently. And it's a journey that requires thoughtfulness, experimentation, and continuous learning. And so I wish you all on your success, on your journeys, trying to operationalize AI for your business. Thank you.